Just do it.
So this is Minakshi Pandey, who with her husband Ritish Suri ran a wildlife lodge in Corbett called Camp Forktail Creek for a dozen years. They set an example for how to run a truly responsible tourism operation. And then they shut shop and Minakshi plunged into solid waste management, setting up a Corbett chapter of Waste Warriors. Welcome to Wild Women Interviews, Minakshi. What is your idea of happiness?
Thank you, Janaki. Thank you for this opportunity. Idea of happiness, a peaceful spot where everyone is in harmony with, oh my God, this is wishful thinking, I think, more than happiness. Yes, a peaceful spot where there's jungles, people and communities who are in harmony with the forest. Maybe wishful thinking, yeah.
That's okay.
Somewhere
That's
peaceful,
allowed.
where everybody understands the reason why. Yeah, sorry?
That's totally understandable. It can be wishful thinking, but it can also be what your ideal view of the world would be. Okay. Who or what is the greatest love of your life?
My dogs, sorry, husband. Perhaps my dogs, all my dogs. When someone asks me, I think of all the dogs I've lost. But yeah, perhaps it would have to be a dog. Many dogs. Sorry, husband. Oh, let's count him in as a dog as well.
Okay, you live in Corbett. It's truly one of the lovely places in the world. But do you have a spot where you'd really like to live?
So I love where I live, despite how crowded it's become, despite the number of just noise, light, all that pollution. But I would love to live, I think Himalayas, but it could also be the Alps. I don't know. Somewhere where there's mountains, I can see snow, where we can walk. There's forests. There's a water body running through. I do have this. A lot of my friends who I speak to, maybe in the last 10 years, haven't you found your dream spot as yet? Because I've been going on about this Himalayan spot, stream, for a very long time.
So why did you give up running the camp?
Many reasons, but I think the most one that really got our goat was that our little village, which had just 20 houses, and we were spoiled. We were the only lodge here. We were a little community, got broken, and all the land got sold. And then came these really big resorts next to us. And the same thing was happening not just in our village, but all over Corbett around 2007, 2010, 11. It became just unbearable. It became like a lie. The product that we were selling, what we were trying to promote, wilderness, enjoying nature, living without electricity, frills, that whole thing just lost its meaning in this mess. So we decided to shut shop, and I'm glad we did, because we've grown wiser, older, experienced, and we've tried other things in life not have been possible maybe if we hadn't taken that break. But we are planning to open as a homestay very soon, with just 6 huts. So yeah, maybe we're back again. No dates fixed as yet. Yeah, but just as we shut, we may just open again.
All right. So when you shut shop, you could have done so many things in life. Why solid waste management?
Again, to speak to childhood friends, a lot of them will say that I have a connection. Maybe I was King Kabadi in the last life. I think I was. I wasn't a Queen Kabadi. I was a King Kabadi. So I have this vision of this in my past life. So there's this connection that I've had with waste, about people throwing waste out of their windows. We'd always travel, even as a teenager or older than that, we travel, and I'd always have a bag, and everybody would be like, oh, there she goes again, we have to put it all in this bag now. And maybe I didn't segregate then, and that I learned much later. But I think, yes, this is something that was that bothered me, that when we first arrived in 2000 or even earlier, there was no waste. There were fields, there were animals, and now you didn't see any fields, you just saw buildings, and the other side of the buildings was just waste all over. So it had grown. And we have just one road in our life, unlike you guys maybe. Even though you live in a very secluded spot, even you can get out and there'll be 3 roads out of your house. But we have one road that gets to Ramnagar, 20 kilometers. There isn't. So in 20 years, imagine how many times I've gone up and down that road. And it bothered me. And I thought, as an intelligent Indian, I can clean it. I was like, how difficult can it be? It's just, I'm intelligent, I'm Indian, I'll work with the system. And of course, people will want it cleaned as well. And I had all these very goody two shoes, naive ideas about. So I thought, yeah, okay, let's give it a shot. We've just taken a break from running camp, and waste has increased, and there isn't a system. Even today, without us interfering, there isn't a system. People will, if Waste Warrior stops, people will have to go back to throwing their garbage into the villages. So in 7 years, we still even haven't been able to convince the local authorities to do something about it, which probably means we need to keep at it for a very long time. So I'm glad I addressed it, because nobody still seems interested in addressing it, whether it's one tiger reserve, the first project tiger reserve in India, or the first in Asia national park. If this is the status given to it, imagine the rest of the tiger reserves. We have 50 in our country. And then I think, okay, I'm just focusing on tiger reserves. What about other protected areas? What about other smaller villages? 70% of our country is just villages. And if we could, create models, we have, that can be replicated, tuck, 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 make little changes and just clean the country. It's not, we're everywhere. We do rocket science, man. We can't clean our own country. So at some sense, I feel a level of shame that I'm an Indian, and I've lived in India all my life. I'm a very proud Indian, and yet I live in this dirty country and I can't do anything about it. So really, frankly, I thought I could do something about it. I still think I can do something about it. It's just going to take a very long time.
So there's really two parts to this problem, isn't there? One is at the individual level, like you said, people chucking stuff out the windows or outside their homes or wherever they may be standing. And then there is the whole dealing with garbage at the community level, like you collect everything and then what do you do with it? So I'm going to start with the government. Like they started this Clean India mission campaign, and there were all these very important people sweeping the streets with brooms and stuff. Do you think that kind of high caliber messaging changed the way people behave? Do you see, in your experience, do you see people who are more conscious of waste now?
So you'll be surprised, but armchair conservation also works. I call all this, jhadu, sitting in an AC room and keeping things clean. I call it armchair conservation, but we need that as well. So has it worked? No, but has it had a positive effect? Yes. But also another thing, to the 2 points that you just said, Janaki, I want to add that the most important thing is awareness. We are not aware. I was not aware of many things before I got into this field. So as an individual, I wasn't. As supposing I was a government officer, no one taught me this in my school. So as a government officer, even I'm not aware. No one has taught me anything. I went to hotel school, by the way. No one taught us about waste in hotel school. So when I go to a manager in a hotel right now, there are 450 hotels around Corbett, or maybe more. Nobody is able to give us a fixed count. They have no idea what to do because there's no awareness. So I think the most important things is to introduce it in schools, make it a part of education, make it a part of our curriculum, just like so many other have been made a part of curriculum and thus have been followed in life. Like in Diwali, Delhi kids now don't burst crackers. It started from school, where education about pollution was taught in school, and the kids told the parents don't. So I think there's that missing link. Even when we go to a sanitation officer, he has no clue what to do. So the first step is to actually educate them and tell them, so this is how it's supposed to be done. Can we help you? Reach out as a friend. But yeah, the sanitation officers are from the community. We didn't pick them up from Sweden or bring them up some fancy country where they've sorted their waste out. So basically everybody doesn't have any clue. It's going to take us a really, really long time to make people understand and make it a part of the school curriculum. There are organizations who've done a great job. Tamil Nadu, um, there's an organization called Wasteless out of Pondicherry, and they have managed to convince the Tamil Nadu Education Department to include education on garbage in schools. So that's a huge accomplishment, because these kids will grow up, they'll become officers at various levels, and they will thus lead by example. Right now, you go into an officer's room and he's chewing pan and he's spitting pan into the same bin. So you're like, oh no, there's no waste segregation here. So you have to start from scratch with most people.
How many villages do you work in around
So yeah.
Corbett? Sorry, did you hear me?
Started with, in the first 3 years, around 50, but now we've downsized 50, 50. And now we've downsized and we're in about 20 villages. And they're all on the periphery of the Tiger Reserve.
So how does it work? So do you get collected from house to house and they pay you a fee for it? Or do you have a contract with the municipality? How does this program work?
So municipality doesn't figure in our program, because municipality would be for a peri-urban or a urban setting, but we work in panchayat areas, which are villages. So we have to deal with gram pradhans and so on. So we start with schools, we create awareness sessions, we influence children, then we influence the adults, we explain to them how to segregate their waste, why it's important to segregate. We speak to the headman, and then the difficult part is convincing every household to contribute its 30 rupees user fee. But we've got almost 60 to 70, in some villages, 90% of the people convinced. The balance funds we actually get from our funders, and we've had many, many people support us over the last 7-8 years. So the balance funds we get from there. So what happens is, apart from awareness, we have now trained and created 5 or 6 self-help groups where women from various villages, and it's worked really well because these are local women from the villages. They go on a weekly basis, collect the waste. Waste is segregated. If it's not, they make a big halla over there. Oh, you didn't segregate. Why didn't you segregate? Then it's been 7 years. So actually our village community are really good in segregation. They could actually teach a city dweller how to segregate. They're so good at it. And then the waste is collected. It's brought to a store. We have decentralized stores all over. There it's further sorted, plastic, paper, and various other. The non-recyclable waste, which is purely sanitary waste, goes to we have a contract with the Nagar Palika in Ramnagar. So we don't even have a municipal. We have a Nagar Palika in Ramnagar town, the closest town to the eastern boundary of Corbett Tiger Reserve. Waste Warriors hasn't even touched the southern or the western boundary, or the north also. We are mostly on the northeast and east. Can you imagine? The other areas, fortunately, some of the other boundaries don't have any villages. So that's a good thing. But with this lockdown and with a lot of local residents returning, there's a lot of garbage all over. People don't have a system. They don't know where to throw their garbage. So forest land is the first land, which is like no man's land, and they come and just dump it in. So these things are actually increasing with COVID, with people returning. Some villages where they had only 10 or 20% population, now they have 90% back. So waste is just going to go on increasing until we don't make a system, nothing's going to happen. So coming back to your initial question of Swachh Bharat mission, it has helped that the first time since independence, there's a head of the country talking about waste. So that has helped a lot. The money that has been spent mostly on creating awareness by them, advertising, has also been very good, because imagine in 70 years, nobody's done anything and then somebody is actually talking about it. So step one, I think, has been great. I don't think it should stop. I think it should continue to make sure that everybody has a system. So we're now at a stage 7 years down the line where if we need about 1,000 rupees per house and the 30 rupees is coming on a monthly basis, 30 rupees is coming from the house, and the 970 rupees, we've actually found 4 or 5 different government schemes where the Gram Pradhan or the village headman can apply. So we're at a stage right now where we are hand-holding, cajoling, motivating, whatever word you want to use, the village headman, please include it in your village budget. Please, 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 please. If that is cracked and we're really, really, really close, then we can say we have a replicable model for the entire country to take on. So there's also a National Institute of Panchayati Raj and Rural Development, which is based out of Hyderabad. They have a very, very nice set of officers who help a lot. But again, it's at the end of the day, it's up to the state, it's up to the Gram Pradhan, it's up to the political will of that area if they want it or they don't want it. So there's a lot of blocks on the way for it actually to be implemented.
But you're also working within the park, don't you? Like with all the
No,
guest houses.
no.
No.
We had a contract for a year with Corbett Tiger Reserve where the Waste Warriors team would go to certain gates on a weekly basis and collect waste, and the forest staff send their waste on a weekly basis. Unfortunately, it only lasted a year, and the officer left and the system was gone. Where again, I don't know why we need to do all this convincing, why officers can't see that but we're again convincing the new lot to please start something again. And there's a lot of, red tape to be done. The team in Dehradun is speaking to an officer there. The team in Corbett is speaking to an officer here, all because they don't have a system of waste management. They don't think it's a priority. And we are trying to convince them that, these are your garbage spots. I mean, they're right now at a stage where they don't even, where they think there's no waste being generated. Despite, even if you forget the tourists, yes, tourists generate waste, but forget about tourists. All year round, there are forest staff staying inside. And I'm sure everyone has salt in their food. That's that plastic packet. Where is it going? Why isn't it coming out? It's just right now, it's just getting burnt inside the forest, or it's getting dug into a hole and just put into a hole. So yes, we're again at a stage where we're convincing them. There are some nice officers right now. Hopefully, all body parts crossed. They will get convinced, and in a couple of months, we'll start again. But this doesn't mean that we'll go in. Again, we'll go. The SAGs will go to the gates. The waste has to come from inside to the gates. Again, it's a partnership. If the forest department staff don't bring the waste out, there's nothing we can do about it. We can just go there on a weekly basis, go clean the road alongside. But it has to be a partnership. It cannot be a waste warriors convincing them, hey, get a system going, man.
So what about hotels? Like that's been one of the biggest problems for Corbett, this whole unregulated tourism scene on its boundaries. What do they do with their waste, and are you working with them?
We used to work with a few hotels. Sadly, not too many hotels have a proper system of waste management. There are a few, I can count them on both my hands, 10, 12 out of the many that I mentioned earlier, who have a system and do something about it. But again, before we go on to blame hotels, yes, they are to blame to a certain extent because the waste they generate is theirs. The waste I generate is mine. If I decide to consume plastic, I then that waste is mine, and I must bother to dispose it in a certain manner. So due to a lack of system created by the Gram Pradhan or the local block authorities or the district authorities or the tourism officers, the hotels all rely on Nagar Palika to dispose their waste. So they have a contractor there who comes to pick all their waste, but the contractor doesn't ask them to segregate their waste. So they don't bother segregating their waste and it just goes all unsegregated. So all the food waste, and there's a lot of food waste generated in hotels, about 70% of the total waste will be food waste, is all just gone to the dogs. It's all contaminated. Yes, this system needs to change, but I really just can't blame the hotels. This has to have a really big intervention. And here I question, there are about 30 or 31 government departments that or licenses that the hotels have to take when they establish a commercial place here. And why why can't those same government authorities create all these systems for them? Why is it the hotel's headache to now find a proper scientific landfill? They've paid all their taxes, yeah. So all they need to do really is segregate their waste, and then there should be a proper system. Just like in the cities, there's somebody who comes, picks up segregated waste. A lot of cities now pick up segregated waste. Those who don't, shame on you, hang your head in shame. Start segregating. But a lot of cities, a lot of the bigger cities are segregating. So they don't segregate their waste. We have not been able to, what would I say, infiltrate into this lobby. And we have also been warned by the contractor that we shouldn't touch the hotels because their waste is high value. So we kind of have an unwritten deal with them that we'll only train hotels and we'll only create awareness, explain how to do things to them, but the waste is all yours.
What's a high
Uh,
value garbage?
High value garbage are recyclables that sell at a high rate. So there's a lot of PET bottles, there's a lot of mineral water that's sold. This kind of waste you don't get from villages. Villages won't have packaging so much. They'll have household waste, but they won't have so much sanitary waste, which is generated by hotel guests, and also food waste. The maximum, like I said, 70% is food waste, and it's all just gone to waste because the hotels aren't built to be able to compost within sight unless they buy a really expensive machine, but they can't do any of the natural processes because there's no place. Everything is built up. Also, Corbett sadly doesn't have flow ratio index, which says that only 10% of your land can be built on. There isn't any such rule here, so you can pretty much build on 100% of your land, and no one's going to say anything to you.
Wow.
Hmm. So there are a lot of problems. I wouldn't really blame. I would still like to work with the hotels rather than work against them. I would still like to tell them because how long do they think they're going to survive if they continue like this? How long will it be okay? How long do you think tourists will keep coming to see mounds of dirt in Corbett? How long will they, after a while they'll be like, forget it, yeah, we go to some other place which is untouched, which doesn't have. Corbett also is unfortunately very close to Delhi. So it becomes like a weekend destination. And well, Delhi is very populated. All Delhi, the nearby UP cities, Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh, it's pretty close by. So we get a lot of local. In fact, this weekend was totally sold out. Most weekends have, yes, ever since the government, I think it was the beginning of this month, that the government didn't have any more. You don't need a COVID negative certificate to enter the state. So now it's like normal actually. There's traffic jams, tourists, lots of garbage all over.
So how does COVID how has it impacted you? I mean, I can see a double-edged problem here. One is dealing with contaminated face masks and PPEs and things like that, and the other is what do you do with them?
Sanitary waste, they become sanitary waste.
So you
So
just
we don't have so much of PPE as much as gloves and masks.
Mhm.
And yes, we've had to tell our all our field workers be very, very careful. There are lessons, training sessions given to them on how to sanitize themselves, how to, wear masks all the time. Because people, in Uttarakhand, there isn't a lot of testing. So we don't really know if how many cases there are. We're feeling very happy thinking, oh, there are not so many cases, but who's testing? So only when that happens. But yes, COVID has increased our waste. Like I said, a lot of local residents have come back, and a lot of people in Uttarakhand worked out of the state. So a lot of them have come back. So there's that waste. Drinking is a taboo in households, in villages. So boys are drinking on the side of the road. So there's those bottles. There's this aloo bhujia, which is eaten with the drink. That's all that is layers. And of course, tourists come with packaged meals at McDonald's and so on and so forth. Things that are not available locally. This is obviously a tourist, and they eat on a lovely spot. Nowadays you see any lovely spot, what comes to my mind? That, hey, maybe I'm becoming anyway. What comes to my mind is, oh, let me go over the slope. I'm sure there'll be garbage there. And sure enough, go over the slope and there's garbage there. So how many places now we need mountaineering skills, to
so what do you do with the garbage? You get segregated garbage, and you're, I assume, training people to compost organic waste in their own homes, or are
yes,
you
yeah,
you have a
no.
central composting?
We have, but no, most homes compost on their own. There are a couple of vegetable shops, and there's some centers we've created where we collect anyone's waste, segregated waste. So from these centers, we get a little bit of food waste. That we have a site here where we compost, but other than that, all households um, uh, segregate their waste and compost all their food waste. Then the dry waste that comes to the store is segregated. Initially, when we started, there were only about 6 or 7 things that we could sell out of a list of about 30. Now, today, after storing things for 6 months, making it a volume, there are about 20 things that we can sell, including cigarette butts. So
Wow.
we found buyers because
Who buys
make
cigarette butts?
there is Code Enterprises, two young enterprising young boys in Noida, they're close to Delhi, and it's our highest. We sell, I think sell it at 250 rupees a kilo. It's the
Like
highest value
250 rupees.
a kilo.
Wow.
It takes a long time to make a kilo, but still.
Yeah.
And they make cushions out of it. Now, outdoor cushions, fillers for the cushions. They clean the synthetic filter out. So yeah, that's what we realize when you segregate and you store. So our storerooms are very nicely, everything is bagged, labeled, glass, paper, bottle. A lot of things we can sell locally. Cloths, somebody comes from 100 kilometers away and picks it up once in 6 months. So we realize that if you segregate, store for a large period of time and get a quantity, then somebody will come and even take it from you. And this is my advice to anyone listening, whether it's hotels, whether it's community members, create an area, sort your waste, store it, and you will find somebody to buy it. Go to your closest scrap dealer. Then there were a few things. There's still problem things like plastic bags and chips packets, thermocol, which nobody buys. So we started upcycling them, and we started teaching our ladies, our team members. There are a couple of team members in Waste Warriors who are really good with their hands. So we started upcycling, we started making things. But because that's not our forte of, trying to get a place clean, um, we haven't done really well in that avenue, though some of our ladies also have picked up, and we're trying now. The head office is also helping to try to get them to sell these things so that they again see a value in waste.
Like what things? What are they making?
They're making rope bags. They're making. I wish that I would have kept some things for you. They're making beautiful lanterns out of plastic. Well, so imagine a rope out of plastic, and then imagine what all you can do with a rope. You can weave with a rope. You can make a basket. So anything. And they've done a lot of stuff with newspaper. They've done a lot of stuff with really glass bottles, beautiful lanterns out of it. So upcycle will create more value than just recycling it. Most of these items can be recycled locally, but if it's upcycled, then it does have a higher value. And there are some friends who have said, you upcycle, you make these products and you give us volume and we can sell it online. So that is something that the team is working on right now, and that is another option. But that's not to say that my message is not to say create more waste. My message is please create as little waste as you can. So the least needs to be recycled or upcycled or whatever else that we have to do.
So, do you see at least a fraction of your expense being paid off by these products, like sale of these products?
No, not in rural India.
Okay.
Sale of products and sale of recyclables. So if I was doing the same thing, say in 20 colonies in Gurgaon or Delhi or Chennai, uh, the whole thing project would have been sustainable. I'll give you an example of this. Most of the schools in rural India are government owned. Okay, and they're almost free, almost like 40-50 rupees is the monthly fee. Should we stop these schools because they're unsustainable?
No. I wasn't
Just a
asking.
question. No. So coming to that, in the same way,
Yeah.
this cannot always be sustainable.
Yeah.
In some cases, we have to think of health. We have to think of pollution. We have to think, oh, if I don't care of this right now, then I'm going to, get some XYZ disease where I'm going to spend 30 lakh rupees later on. So this is how a lot of officers actually say to us that your project is unsustainable. Like, huh? Of course, it's unsustainable. The value of waste. So, if every village, the hotel was also included, yes, then the whole cycle would have been sustainable. But just village members, and like our village has just 20 houses. It's totally unsustainable to just be able to make do with the waste generated. No. But if it was an urban setting, yeah, for sure.
So you mentioned that you have a lot of corporate support and you have partnerships with several local institutions, but I can imagine that you would still need, like, the storage space you were talking of storing kilograms of stuff that should come at a price. So how do you, is this all part of the
This is all
project
built in.
budget?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So when I said that approximate is about 1,000 rupees to, it could be almost 5,000 also for some villages which have just 10 houses. Per month is the cost. When I said that, and 30 rupees comes from a house, the rest 970 includes all this. So what we've done actually, we've taken little rooms on rent from a person in the village, and we've created a little just with a plastic sheet, a little shed covering outside. So the ladies bring all their waste, segregated outside. They put a tarpaulin outside, and then they put all their waste segregated. Then they bag it and put it nicely in the room. All these rooms are hired from villagers. In fact, our transport is hired from villagers. Yet even then, there's a lot of livelihood that's being created or supplementary income that is being created by this. But even then, um, the volume of waste is not so much that it can just take care of itself. Every village cannot take. They need help. Just like a school was built by the government also needs to do something about waste.
Okay, I want to go back to something you mentioned about creating awareness with the next generation, doing programs with schools. So I'm assuming you've been doing that for the last 7 years. Have you seen a payoff on that?
Yeah, totally, yes. The kids recognize us, first of all. So anyone in a Waste Warrior teaches, Waste Warriors, hi, good morning. So there's a lot of friendly atmosphere created by the kids because we teach them a lot of fun games, all to do with waste. Incidentally, we've created a guidebook which has 10 successive lessons. It's all on our website. And anybody who wants to create awareness, whether it's for adults or children, they can start from lesson 1 and then go on to lesson 10 and have 10 progressive lessons over 5 years. Or we go to each school about 3 or 4 times every year, and they love us. They love the entertainment, the games, the craft, the knowledge, and mostly it's environment, cleanliness, health, sanitation. It's related to that. So yes, we've even I wouldn't say used, but we've had a village where we tried very for a very long time to get them to contribute the 30 rupees fee. Um, and they just were not, and it dragged on for almost a year till we had a Children's Day. So we call these awareness programs that we do in schools, we call them Children's Day. So we had a Children's Day in that village, and one of our members, a young girl, local young girl, was upset that none of the adults had uh, contributed 30 rupees, and that point blank said they're not going to give 30 rupees. And what is 30 rupees? 1 rupee a day. Come on. So this girl's member of Waste Warriors, poured her heart out to the children and said, "Do you know your parents are not doing this? And do you know?" And la 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 la. They were like, "Seriously? We'll go talk to them. Please call us on Monday." And they gave 3 numbers and 3 girls, and they will collect all the data. Unfortunately, their efforts didn't pay off. The parents didn't listen to them. So we stopped working in that village entirely. We would only go to the school where it's free of cost. And we did this for a year, and then even that has stopped. So it's quite sad that everything has stopped in that village. It didn't work, but the kids did try to help us a lot. And kids do help us when we go to a house. They always mention that, "Oh yeah, kid mentioned that you had gone to their school and you were telling them about this, that, and you taught them how to do this and you taught them how to do that." So definitely kids, go home, and we're a novelty. So novelty because there isn't so much of this done in the area. There's nobody who focuses on entertainment, and there's nobody who thinks of and even locally there is no entertainment. You'll never see a local lady out of her house after dark. Never. After dusk, dark, you never see. It's their time to be at home. It's the men's time to come back home drunk, so you'll see some drunk men loitering around, but never you'll see you know never. So there's no source of entertainment at all, except for one puja that they'll have a family puja. So a lot of it is religious based, but that's also once in a year, twice in a year. But so we kind of form that entertainment value. There's no sports. We did this. There was this really nice, a volunteer of ours from Bangalore, Rajat. He introduced us to a program which we did. It was called the boot camp. So we selected three schools, and 10 kids came from Delhi colleges, and over a period of 10 days they taught certain kids certain skills from these 3 schools, like acting, singing, dancing, nukkar natak, artwork, wall. There was 7, 8 things, and at the end of the 10 days, I think it was 26 January, and the school has a function on 26 January. The kids performed. Oh, there was a cricket match as well, which is really nice. There were girls that took part in the cricket match as well. So there were all these competitions on 26 Jan, and nobody had ever done this before. So it was just so appreciated by the teachers, by the students, by the parents, because here their kids were really excited and they'd learned a new thing. And also that their teacher was a young college student who was in all seriousness, spending her entire day, his or her entire day, teaching them that dance. It was really, really great. So that's another pitch for anyone out there. Rural India, not every part of rural India has entertainment for the community. Central India does, a lot of Northeast does. Where there isn't, please think about it. It's fun. It's something that keeps people occupied. Uh, and it's
So
something to
when
be
you
looked upon.
say that with COVID, 90% of the population came back from the cities to the villages, and there was garbage everywhere. Did you see your awareness programs pay off? Like, did kids go up to people who were littering and saying you can't do this, or you can
No,
segregate garbage?
no,
No.
no. Kids over here wouldn't do that. Kids over here are very scared. I wouldn't say respectful. I would say more scared of adults. So they'd rather shut up. They'd rather tell their mom or tell us about it, but they wouldn't address it themselves. Very, very few would actually say something to. Well, people, even when we tell people, and it's a common occurrence, every forest stream has somebody, even if a Corbett Tiger Reserve registered tourist gypsy washing in the stream. Even when we tell them you aren't allowed to wash here, please don't wash your car here, politely, you can go further ahead, take water from here, but don't put it back. They're just washing in the stream. They've parked in the stream. They fight back. Who are you to tell us? And who do you think you are? And this is our water. And we tell them there's somebody drinking this water downstream about a kilometer away. Don't do this. So there's a fight. So kids would not address. It is not in our system to be bold and to talk back, and so that will take some time. Women are not entrepreneurs here. And wherever there are women are entrepreneurs, there you'll see that children are also, more worldly wise, more aware. So here it's a little more under pressure.
Right. When you see kids coming from the cities visiting the national park, do you see a difference between after you've done all this awareness work with rural kids and then there are these big city kids coming in? Do you see a difference in their approach to garbage?
Sure. It's we do a lot of programs where city kids are combined with the village kids, and the program is done together. So there are a lot of agencies who do school trips into Corbett, and they approach us that, hey, can you do a program for our kids? And a lot of them want to actually work with community children. So we asked the village headmaster, can we have a program in your school? Or can we take your kids to this XYZ lodge and have normally it's going to the school. And so if they allow it, then the city kids go to the village kids school. And there's this moment of pride then, because our city kids have mugged it by heart. Whatever we have taught them in the last 7 years, they know by heart. And the city kids, this is the village kids. City kids are all like, what? They have no idea what is recyclable, what is non-recyclable, what is compostable, what is organic. They have no idea. Most of them have no idea. I'm talking 10-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, and a lot of them don't care. It is not their problem. Their answer is the garbage man comes. They don't even call him the safai wala, the cleaner man. They call him the garbage man. The garbage man comes and picks up our waste, and we give him all our waste unsegregated. That is their answer. We have one dustbin in every room, and we throw all our waste in that one dustbin. Whereas our village kids with great, no, that goes in recyclable. That's non-recyclable. That's how long it takes to decompose. They've just learned the whole thing by heart. So that's a huge moment of pride.
That's so lovely to hear. So I wanted to get a sense of, you touched on it before, but I want to emphasize it. So this is one tiger reserve in India. Do you know what's happening with other protected areas? Because after all, plastic is a big threat to wildlife. Like recently, there was a photograph that won an award of all these elephants in an enormous landfill. I mean, it's just so
Sri Lanka.
disgusting. Yeah, in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And what are we doing to our wildlife? So what are the other parks doing to take care of this problem? Do you know?
Yes, I do know. I make it my business to know because I want to learn if somebody is doing something, and we can learn some new thing from them. And with my husband, we travel a lot to wilderness spots and protected areas in the country. So I actually make it my business to find out what is it that they're doing. And sadly, nobody is doing anything except for writing, this is a no plastic zone, or yeah, some such message like this. Dispose your waste properly. Just writing it, there's no system. See, all of them are in rural parts of India, so they don't have a system. There's some people who've tried to make an effort. Kana has tried to make an effort. Bandipur has tried to make an effort. But there's nobody I know of who has a system right now. Not one of the 50 tiger reserves. And it's actually quite sad that places like Ranthambore, Kana, Bandhavgarh, Pench, these are all such beautiful landscapes. Kaziranga, and they're so famous. Forget this, Ladakh. Oh my God, I've even done a cleanup in Ladakh, and done they're more receptive to listening to you and hearing you out, but that doesn't mean anything because if a system is not created, so we haven't even spared Ladakh. You should see Ladakh's landfill. Oh my God. It's like imagine the most beautiful place in the world, snow-capped peaks, rolling mountains, and just fields of unending fields of garbage in front of you. Just it's so depressing. So yeah, sadly, people are not doing a lot. And again, when Swachh Bharat is going on screaming, it does help because it does tell a lot of officers in power that do something about it. It
Yeah,
is
but
your problem as well.
isn't shouldn't someone call it out? Like it's okay to raise awareness, but who is going to set up these systems? I mean, if you set up a system, then people can utilize it, right?
Who is going to set up the system? The village headman, the park director, the deputy director. It's very easy. It's very easy. I have 5 PowerPoint presentations which I can forward to all of them and they will understand what to do, followed by many phone calls if they want. We're willing to help. No one's interested. Though I must say, Kana, we have been invited by the forest department. We went and did a presentation there. We explained to them. I don't think they have a system as yet, but they have cleaned up a lot of places that they had inside. The hotels have become a lot more conscious. Central India also has a lot more conscious hoteliers, the owners. So individual people like Pagnandi Safaris, Taj Safaris, they are making an effort. We've even been invited by Pagdandi. We've done an entire session for all their lodges across Madhya Pradesh. And now we're in touch with their managers. When they have a problem, they get in. So there are people who are doing something, but as park, as management, it's really easy. Why wouldn't you want to care about the garbage? It affects your wildlife too. We have footage to prove that garbage affects leopards, it affects all kinds of, if you're not interested in wild boar and if you're not interested in cheetal because there's too many of them, then at least the others you'd be interested in leopard. There's a scientist in Dehradun who's done a lot of work on effects of waste on wildlife. And there's a lot of research that has, of course, she can't cut up an elephant to prove that there is plastic in that elephant's stomach, but she can cut up a cow and who's on the same periphery. So yeah, there's proof enough to show that animals take it in and they are slowly dying from plastic ingestion, which is the maximum amount of unnecessary litter that is found. Because paper is not so bad, but this plastic, uncontrollable plastic, is just. Interestingly, I must mention this as well. A lot of governments have, including Uttarakhand government, have these really big composting machines that have been set up at mandis. Mandis are these places where the vegetable vendors all get together, and it's that first place in the morning where all the sabji vegetables are then distributed. So they've made these. So supposing Dehradun needs 1 ton, a plant of 1 ton, it's a 20-ton plant has been put there. So it's never going to function.
Sorry, you'll have to repeat that.
Somebody's made a lot of money because so suppose a city like Dehradun has 1 ton of food waste coming out of the mandi every day. Instead of putting a 1 ton machine, they put a 20-ton machine there. So that machine can never run because it's over capacity. Same thing in Halwani. Similarly, there are places that have made factories for processing plastic. So they actually take all your plastic and they make little pellets from it, which they then sell to the plastic industry for chairs and toys and so on and so forth. And they make PVC pipes, but those factories never run. They were just made by some money-making, I don't know, bureaucrat, politician, whoever, and they never run. So, well, there are things that were, and this is like I'm talking 7-8 years ago. This is not even the current government. So these things have been put in place, but we are too busy trying to make money. Uttarakhand is a very corrupt state, as also a lot of other states. So, so once we get over all those hurdles, maybe we will be clean one day.
And on that note, we have to end. Thanks so much, Minakshi. That was wonderful to talk to you.